Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, today we have Kevin Easley. He's the head men's basketball coach, Life University. They are the Running Eagles. It's going to be a great conversation. You're going to enjoy it. Buckle up. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Cascade Hoops Talk, produced in the shadow of the beautiful Cascade Mountains and bringing the world NAIA basketball. One podcast at a time. Hey, today we have Kevin Easley, head men's basketball coach, Life University, the Running Eagles. Last year, Life had a great season in that Southern States. Boy, that conference is getting tough. And then they made it to Kansas City, which is a great feat for any team. Really good season last year for Life. And Kevin Easley has got more in store for this year. Why don't we take a listen to Coach Kevin Easley, Life University Running Eagles. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Kevin Easley on the phone, head men's basketball coach, Life Running Eagles. Welcome, Coach. Thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate you having me, Billy D. It's always a pleasure.
You know, it was a great honor to get to meet you and sit down with you a few minutes last season out in Kansas City. It was a great run last year. You had a very, very good team. Just kind of recap last year, and did you feel obviously you felt disappointed at the end, but did you feel like you left a lot on the table?
Yeah, I did. I mean, we lost to a quality opponent. You know, much respect to Freed Hardeman and what they've accomplished over the years. And it was our second time playing them in the season. The first game was really close, but I felt like, you know, us, that being our first time up there since the merger, you know, there was a lot, and me as a coach, there was a lot of things that we didn't know from a routine standpoint, logistical standpoint. Freed had already been there. You know, they knew how to prepare. They knew, you know, where to practice. They knew how to handle all the things that were coming at them. For us, it was very new. So I'm not going to attribute that. Freed came out and hit a ton of shots, and you know, it was a buzzsaw. So I do feel like we were one of the, you know, top teams there. I feel like if we would have got past that game, we would have been able to make a run and continue to play well. But, you know, it just wasn't in the cards for us. But it was a great learning experience for me and my staff. And obviously the players that are returning, they know what it takes to get there. And I believe that, you know, the leadership that they're going to show, you know, throughout, and the leadership they have shown, you know, shows that they want to get back.
You know, you said something interesting, something I really believe, that teams almost have to get there once to figure out what's going on. That first time cold into that big municipal auditorium or coliseum, whatever they call it, that's a tough gig, isn't it? I've always thought there was huge value in getting your team to Kansas City, just getting there.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge value. I mean, I can go into it. You know, Chase Harris, who was, you know, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the country last year, didn't play. Like it wasn't that the lights were too big. I just think it was such a different stage for him that he didn't perform the way he was capable of until the second half of that game.
Yep.
And that, you know, he usually gets us going. So, and, you know, it's one of those things like you have to experience that. And then when you go back, it's a little bit different now. You know, obviously for us, you know, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, a little bit later, us having 2 returners, it's not like, you know, if we get a chance to go back, everybody that's been, you know, the people that are on my team have not been there. So it's almost still the same thing for the players, but for the coaching staff, we'll know how to handle it a little bit better.
You know, one more thing about last season. Yeah, you did lose that first round there at Kansas City, but you went over to Marion, Indiana. You beat Johnson, and then you beat Indiana Wesleyan in Lucky Arena. That's a pretty big feat right there. You had to feel really proud of your team. It's a tough atmosphere and just a storied atmosphere, actually. And you go in there and you were able to beat them on their home court. Obviously, Greg Tonigal, one of the best in the business. How big was that win for your program?
You know, Coach Tonigal is an incredible coach, and a lot of respect for what he does and what he has done with that program. You know, I think it's one of the best programs in the country. And, you know, going in, winning that game, I don't think we as a team and staff realized how big of a win that was until we got to Kansas City and started hearing from some of the other coaches and, some of the other players and media about, how big of a win that was. And I do remember after the game, our players, running through the hallways and dancing and happy. And I looked at my coaching staff and I'm like, I don't think they realize what they've done. Uh,
Yeah.
so, I think that was kind of the beauty of our team is like the moment was never too big for them. And, they didn't go in there feeling like, hey, we're going to play, Indiana Wesleyan, NAIA Giants. Like we felt like we belonged.
Right.
And I think, that allowed us to go in there with a lot of confidence and, prove we were the better team on that night.
Well, and we'll talk about the Southern States in a moment. You did win the Southern States. You definitely belonged there. Let's talk a little bit about the roster. You mentioned about having a couple guys coming back. And of course, it's the two that are the hardest to pronounce. How do you pronounce Popovich's first name?
Surgeon.
Serge. Okay, I should have asked this before I started. I apologize. And then
Oh, no worries.
Marcia Gladek. Boy, I butchered his name.
Mattia. Yeah. Well, yeah, you did. It's okay. Mattia Gledek.
Okay. Well, I apologize to both you young men for that. How big is that to have? You just mentioned it, but you lost. I've added it up. I think you lost 75 out of 86 points or some ridiculous number. But you got two guys back to build on. And how big is that to
Yes.
have that leadership coming back?
It's leadership. I mean, both of those guys. I mean, Surgeon has been with me for 4 years. Mattia with one. Both of them have built on the success that we've had, and they've taken a step. Mattia is playing. He's practiced as good as anybody on our team. He was already an incredible shooter, but he's shooting the ball even better. Surgeon too, for that matter, his leadership and just his poise and his experience has been really crucial for us. But those guys, they're Serbian, so they have a connection already as well.
Right.
So having those guys with the connection and being able to show the new guys what our culture looks like and what we do and how we do it every day is something that's been really, really important for us. And for us to take the next step, those are the things that have to happen when you have veteran returners.
So you get these guys, you have a couple of returners, you have a couple of red shirts back too that know your system and know your culture. But I think, well, let me ask you this. What is tougher to get through to new guys or get guys to grab onto, your systems or your culture?
Well, I think it starts with the type of kids that you're recruiting, and you have to recruit kids that fit your culture first and foremost. Secondly,
Right.
you have to, evaluate and figure out who's going to fit your system, which is incredibly important. Because obviously basketball, you have to, that's part of the deal, not just the character piece, but that's really important. But I do think that having with the transfer portal and having to change over rosters, quite a bit, it makes it interesting, trying to navigate and figure out a team. And once you get those guys, I think the culture piece, you have to preach it every single day. The basketball part, I think, because of the success that we've had, the numbers offensively that we've put up, there's a sense of belief in it when they get here. So
Yeah.
we haven't had a problem really with that. I think, having the culture piece, having, our coaching staff adhere to all the things that we do. And then obviously the returners, showing and doing the things that they're supposed to do every day. That's something that stands out, and culture is something you have to preach every day. And it's not something, it's not buzzwords, or you can come up with, fancy catchphrases, but at the end of the day, that's something that has to be practiced every day. And, once you do that, guys will start to fall in place.
You've put together a pretty varied roster. You just mentioned you've got the guys from Serbia. You've got a couple D1 transfers. Got a couple of guys from out my way, a guy who played at Mount Hood, Leon Doss. And then you got a guy from Albany who's just down the road a few miles from me. So, not only you have a lot of cultures to bring together, basketball styles, How has the first couple weeks went bringing this? It's a little bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, it is. It's for us, we knew the guys that we brought in, they fit our system, and I think that's the beauty of having to turn over a roster is you can really go out and get the guys that fit
Right.
what you want to do. We've had to kind of piece some pieces together over the last couple of years and the last 3 years since we started playing a certain way. But I do think, the way practices have been, it's been chaotic. Um, you know, like everyone else, we have a long way to go. I think if anybody tells you right now that they're really good, they may be a little naive unless they brought their whole entire team back. But it's a process. It's a process, and it's a marathon. You have to try to get better day by day. And I think for me as a coach, I've grown to understand that you're going to have some really, really good days, and there's going to be some days where you scratch your head and you have to go back to the drawing board and make some adjustments. But it has been, I like this group. They've been, tremendous. They have worked incredibly hard. It's probably the deepest team 1 through 15 that I've had since I've been here. And so I'm really excited about, the possibilities and the potential of this team.
Let me ask you about a couple of these guys, and I want you to bring up whoever you'd like to highlight. But Cal Payton caught my eye. He played at Florida Memorial, 14 points there. That's a good program. He's familiar with the NAIA. And also you got Shane Stevenson, who played a Mid-American Nazarene, had a 10.6 rebounds there. Couple of proven guys. Along with it, you got a couple guys who played significant minutes at D1, Brashon Hall, as well as Maurice Wright out of Palmdale, California. He played at VMI. Can you talk about some of those guys and what they bring?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to start, obviously we'll start with Calvin. That was the first name you brought up. Calvin is a elite shooter. Obvious for us, if you really follow us, we're one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country year out and year in. So, to be able to get guys that shoot the ball at the rate that he does has been, is valuable for our offense. One guy that you didn't mention was Josh Baher, who transferred from Bryan College. He was first team All AAC and All Defensive Team, 14 points, 9 rebounds, and he averaged 5.9 assists, which he was 8th nationally. So at
Wow.
6'6", he can play the point. He's got a similar. He's very similar to Chase in the regard of he can rebound, he can play make. He will play some point guard for us, point forward. He's very versatile, so we could do a lot of different things with him, and he's a very interesting and intriguing player. Shane Stevenson, very fortunate to get him, and all these guys are coming from winning programs, which is something that we really look at. Shane is a guy that he's got great touch around the rim, and he works incredibly hard, and he did get a 4.0 this quarter in the summer, so I'm really happy about that. Him and Josh as well, so happy about that part. But you have MJ, Maurice Wright, transfer, Brashon Hall. Those guys are talented guards. Baki Lecky, who sat out, it was a transfer from Cumberland. He's a 6'6" wing that's going to be able to help us tremendously.
Yeah.
One of the guys that as he's coming off an injury, and we're hoping he gets to form, is Wesley Tubbs, who's a former 3-star recruit. Had a lot of Power 5 offers coming out of high school, and he's just had some injuries throughout his time. So we're hoping to get him healthy. And we have a 6'10" freshman from Spain who is a true wing. He's not a guard. He can shoot it, dribble, pass. I think he's been the biggest surprise so far. He's only been in 3 practices because he just got here the middle of last week. But those are some guys that I think will add a lot of depth to our team, and there's some really intriguing players with a very high skill level.
One guy that I don't know, he might be a year away because he's just coming out of high school. He's out of Buford down there. Chase Robinson. I did a little reading up on him. That guy can really shoot the ball. He hits big shots. He comes out of high school with a big name.
He does. He redshirted, so that was an opportunity for him to learn our system. So obviously he has a head start over a lot of these guys. Really, really good shooter, has a high IQ, really good feel for the game, and he has the ability to play on and off the ball. So he will be definitely fighting for some of those guard minutes that,
Yeah.
I think, for me this year, I mean, I go into every year and I can say, all right, this guy's a starter, this guy's a starter, this guy, and then you can figure out your team. But like, this is going to be the hardest year of trying to make people happy from a playing time standpoint, because I don't think we've been this deep before. I mean, there are guys that will probably come off our bench that could have started for us last year. So
Yeah.
don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but we're really excited about what we put together, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely you definitely should be excited about it. It's really, you know how many so many teams, coach, have are in the same position as you. It's just completely rolled over the roster. I don't know how many coaches I've talked to that are in that position this year with that many graduations. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Southern States. It was a great race last year. This conference is really it's very competitive. You got a lot of great teams in there. I don't want to start naming them all because I'll mess up somebody, but night after night, it's a battle. Just talk about your conference there.
It's a battle. There are no easy nights at all. Even some of the teams that may not have had the most success, that they're gonna give you a game every night out. And I could tell you, I mean, give a prime example. We played ABAC last year, who was new to our league, and
Mm-hmm.
they came in late, and they had some injuries and things of that nature. And the last regular season, second to last regular season game of the year, they led us for 38 minutes at their play. So and we needed to win that game to go into Dalton to play for the outright title.
Right.
And that's just a testament of like the quality coaches that we have in this league. The players, recruiting is as the teams get better, everybody is kind of up their recruiting, and the scheduling philosophy has changed, throughout our league. We were scheduling tougher opponents, which has helped our RPI. It helped us last year. I don't think that will change this year, and I do expect it to be a highly contested, battle for first, and may end up coming down to the last day again, like it did last year, which was a lot of fun. We were on the losing end of it, but just the anticipation of playing that game against Dalton was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys had a great battle last year. You and I talked before we started, but I have a huge respect for Mike Hall, the commissioner of that league. I think you guys have done a great job with that league, and boy, it really shows in the competition.
Yeah, it does. Mike is a tremendous commissioner. He really, and he's personable. Like, you get a chance to meet him, and you understand kind of his vision of what he has for the league, and he has done a great job of adding the right teams at the right time to give us the best opportunity to showcase our conference,
Right.
and get as many teams as we can in, and give us an opportunity to have those good teams to play against. So when you do get to the national tournament situations, that you're prepared for it.
Yeah, you mentioned tough non-conference. Just to give folks an idea, you start off Halloween weekend, uh, Kaiser, and this is at home. Kaiser and Bryan, two tough teams, and then you invite Freed Hardeman in. That's going to be no cakewalk, and then Milligan is always tough. You got to go there, and that's all before you start conference. So you've definitely you haven't scheduled a patty cake preseason, that's for sure. you're gonna
No, no.
you're gonna have to get ready, coach.
Yeah, look, maybe I'm crazy, or I wanted to challenge these guys and continue to have a RPI, but starting out with Milligan, tournament team, and then obviously Kaiser tournament team, and Brian, who was if Josh Baher, who was their best player last year, he gets hurt the last, I think, maybe 10 games,
Yep,
and
yep.
they had won about 8 in a row before he got hurt. They may make the tournament if he's healthy the whole entire year. So you look at all those teams, and obviously Freed, Hardeman, we want to try to play those guys every year because it makes us better, and I think that we help them see some different things offensively that they may not see all the time, which helps them as well. But those games are good, and years prior we didn't schedule as tough, and One year we went 21-9 and didn't make the tournament because I guess our RPI wasn't strong enough. And I thought that year we had a team that could have competed for a national championship, but the numbers kept us out. So we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen, going forward. So we did schedule really aggressive, and luckily we have those games at home, and obviously we go to Milligan for the second time on the road. But those are going to get us battle tested for the tough Southern Conference, Southern States Conference, and we'll be very prepared when the time comes.
I have one more thing I want to talk to you about. Probably the most important thing. I think you've been at Life about 7 years, going on eighth.
This is my eighth year.
Eighth year, okay. And since you've got there, one of the hallmarks of your teams has been high GPAs. It's something that's very important to you. I think this is becoming more and more common around the NAIA. I really got to tip my hat to the NAIA. They've done a very good job of really emphasizing the student athlete. But talk about how important that is, not only for the team and for the discipline, but for these young men as they move on into life. No pun intended there, by the way.
No pun intended. Yeah, no pun
Sorry
intended. I
about
like
that.
that. No worries. I think it starts, for us a little bit with the recruiting process of trying to find guys that want to get their degree, whether they get it from here or, the transfer portal they leave. You want to get those type of guys. And, for us, we compete on the floor and off the floor.
Right.
I think the better the student, for us, it's shown that they've been able to grasp our system a little bit better. And then, them doing well, academically, it's going to help them, being challenged by us as a staff, and, the directives that my boss, Jamie Pendergast, has for our athletic department is, everybody needs to get a 3.0 or higher. So we're always doing everything that we can to try to get these guys prepared for afterlife, and and no pun intended, but we want to get these guys prepared in every walk of life, and whatever they decide to do, whether it's playing overseas or professionally at whatever level that is, or whether that's selling real estate or things of that nature. Just providing them the discipline to be able to turn in your work, go to class, be on time. Like, those are things that I tell them all the time. It's like, you were late today, but you would absolutely get fired if you were on the job. So imagine me running you a little bit to slap you on the wrist, but you have a family and you don't show up and you don't have an excuse. You just didn't feel like coming that day. They're going to fire you. So learn these lessons early, and fail. I think, a lot of times with us as coaches, we don't allow our players to fail. We try to prevent them from failing, and I think that's a key component, is allowing them to fail and go through some adversity that's going to grow them and strengthen their character a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I know that I can tell you from my life experience, that was my dad's philosophy. But
Yes.
some of my friends, I'm an old guy now, but some of my friends go, "Oh man, your dad was way too hard on you." I said, "No, he wasn't." By the time I was 18, I was out of high school. I was fine. I took care of myself, and and I thank him every day
Absolutely.
for expecting me to do everything. And he was one of these guys. There's no such thing as try. It's do or do not. Like the Yoda thing. That was my dad.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you 1,000%. 1,000%. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. I feel like our time kind of run up real fast here. We're gonna have to
Yes.
we're gonna have to get you on when the season starts, and I'm gonna try to do a lot more post game interviews. I'll try to get a hold of you maybe after a big win, but we do shorter interviews during the season because we do the daily show. But I want to get you back on as the season gets going.
Okay. Sounds good. No, I appreciate it, Bill, and I appreciate you having me, and definitely big fan of your show, and really appreciate what you've done for NAIA basketball and continue to do, and hopefully you have a great rest of the week.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's Coach Kevin Easley. He's the head men's basketball coach, Life Running Eagles. Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you. Talk soon.
Hey, thanks a lot to Life University, also Coach Kevin Easley. It was a great conversation. I really loved what he said about you got to let young men fail and have the consequences. I'm an old guy, but I'm telling you, those words sounded like magic to my ears, because I think that's a kind of a failure that we have as young men are protected a little bit from those failures, and later in life they struggle with them. But that's beside the point. That's just old man Billy D. Hey, thanks a lot for all your support, and check us out again tomorrow. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.